again. I'm doing another bread tutorial because the last one was awful and I have my cameraman now. So, pretty much the same recipe, only I won't be using wheat flour this time because we ran out, so whatever. Okay, the first step is your yeast, proofing your yeast. And I have here 1 packet of yeast. Pour it in your bowl. And I'm using honey this time. It'll be a honey white bread instead of a honey wheat bread. But you can always use sugar. But you do need something for the yeast to feed off of. This is 2 tablespoons of honey. Oh, goodness. Excuse me, y'all. I oiled the bowl. That was a tip I was going to give you guys. Was to oil the bowl when you're using honey or anything that you're putting honey into. Like if you're measuring it out for a dressing or something. Put some oil in it so it comes out easier. But as you can see, it also makes you drop things. So, and that was about 1/4 to 1/2 cup of warm water just to activate the yeast. And I'm just stirring it up in there, and you just let it sit until it dissolves. And that takes about 10 minutes. So when you come back after your 10 minutes, it's going to be like really bubbly. And that's that as far as the yeast goes. But while the yeast is, proofing, you may as well take your flour. This is 4 cups of flour. And that's unbleached, all-purpose. You can use organic if that's what you use. Spelt. I've done spelt bread. That's really, really good. Right now I have unbleached all-purpose flour, so that's what I'm using. And like in the last video, I was telling you guys, if you're going to make a wheat bread, it's best to use half all-purpose, half wheat flour, because just wheat flour will make a very tough bread, and you will not want to make homemade bread again if you only use wheat flour. So do yourself a favor and use some all-purpose flour. Don't be too crunchy. Alright, and I put also a teaspoon of salt in there with the flour and just mixed it up. And I have my yeast proofing here, my flour here, and that's it for that part. It's really, really easy to make bread. So once you get the basics down, you'll pretty much want to make bread all the time. And making your own bread is really different from buying it from the store, because store-bought bread is really thin and fragile. And homemade bread, you can eat a sandwich and it'll fill you up because it's really thick. It has a chewier consistency. It's just better to me personally. I made some bread earlier and I ate like 4 slices just by itself, but that could be because I'm pregnant, but whatever. Either way, the other ingredients that I have here are 1/4 cup of melted butter and 1.5 cups of milk, and that's almond milk that I'm using there. So that's all the ingredients that you'll need. And if you look here, cameraman, you can see that the yeast is starting to proof. That's how you know that your yeast will work and make your bread rise. It's starting to foam up and bubble up. So just give that about 10 more minutes. Let it activate for real, and it'll be good. Yeah. Okay, the yeast is proof. This is what it looks like when it's proofed. Very foamy and bubbly. And yeah. So go ahead. They'll tell you in all the recipes to make a well in the middle so you don't make a mess, but we're mixing this by hand. So, and if you have a KitchenAid or a stand mixer, feel free to put your dough attachment on there and go for it, but I don't have one of those yet. So I'm using my trusty fork that never fails me and my hands. And adding my butter. You can use vegetable oil. In the last recipe, I used vegetable oil. I was out of butter. But I prefer butter highly over vegetable oil because butter just tastes delicious and it's natural. And your milk. Now everything is in there. And I did go put a sweater on, y'all, because my baby feeders were on beam. I am pregnant. So sorry if that offended anyone. Okay. And you just mix all your ingredients. And this is really the fun part here, because we're about to start using our hands. Once you get everything mixed in pretty good and it goes to looking like this, it's pulling away from the side of the bowl. All this is coming up off the side and stuff. Now it's time to use your hands. Now, if you don't have a clean surface, which I just cleaned this table off so I could do this tutorial for you guys, but if you don't have a clean surface, use a cutting board. You know, you can use whatever to knead your dough. And I have this extra flour that I sit here. You flour your surface pretty good. You can also knead it in a bowl, but it's so much better to have, and you turn it out. It's so much better to have like a big open space to knead on, because kneading is like rigorous. This is the funnest part of making bread to me, but it's also the part that kind of intimidates people because it takes a while. But I'm going to show you the whole process. A lot of times you see tutorials, well, I saw tutorials, and they would like cut it off when they go to kneading the bread, but a lot of people don't know what goes into kneading. So you have your dough, flour your surface and flour your dough because it's sticky. And you pick it up, you push it down on itself. Pick it up, push it down. Pick it up, push it down. You just keep doing it. And like I said in the previous tutorial, y'all, especially ladies, this is awesome to do when you're aggravated. I won't say with who because my cameraman is right here, but this is a great activity when you need to get some stress off your chest. It will definitely put that energy into the bread instead of into arguing. Y'all know that's our whole thing. Don't be arguing and fussing at each other. Be nice to each other. Your man will be happy because he got some fresh bread. And you'll be happy because you didn't have to fuss at anybody. Let me get some more flour. And I'm telling you, bread is alright when you're not mad. But when you're mad or you're aggravated, you make the best bread you ever had in your life. And just keep flouring your surface. This is so things don't get too sticky. As you can see, it does get a little sticky, but this is just making sure that it doesn't get too sticky. And you just keep going until it's no longer sticky. See how it keeps sticking to my hands? That's what you don't want. So you just keep going, adding flour. And it's really not difficult at all. And don't put any water in that bowl you just took your flour out of because you're about to use it again. I mean, you just took your dough out of, my bad. And your hands do get messy, but that's the fun part. You can always wash them. And as you go, the dough will pull the rest of the dough off of your hands, so they'll get cleaner. And I'm still sticking, when I stick my fingers down in the middle, and you do want to do that a little bit so you can get some air into your dough. That's what gives you a good soft dough. is having those air pockets in there. You don't want too big of air pockets though, because you know when you get bread from the store and they got that big old air bubble in the middle, that is quite aggravating. And yeah, to use a good bit of flour, keeping your surface floured, but it's all good. And it's best, I keep my wedding ring on all the time, but other than that, and that's because it's pretty dainty, it doesn't get in the way. But if you have one of those big old rings, it is definitely best to take it off when you're kneading dough. And you knead for about 10 minutes, so it's a good 10 minutes of arm work. But as you can see, the rest of it is very hands off. Like after you do this kneading, the rest of the process is pretty hands off. Okay. And that'll probably be one more go around with this flouring and kneading thing. You can see it's coming together, it's getting a lot smoother than what it was. It's not sticking like it was. It's pulling everything off of my hands. Right. All right. This is your dough, baby. See that? How it springs back up slowly. That's what you want. So, sit him down, or her, whoever you want to have. And I have a little butter wrapper that I was using earlier when I was making cookies with my sons. Scrape all your leftover stuff out of your bowl. But grease your bowl however you choose to grease it. Oil it, as they say. Leftover butter wrappers, I've read online, are a really good idea, so we're not to waste them. And they are. Just make sure you oil your bowl so that your dough doesn't stick. Stick it in there, turn it over so it gets oiled all around it. And you know what? I don't think the butter wrapper did good enough. So, I'm going to get a little oil. Uh-oh. Did you catch that? Mm-mm. Okay. Just a little bit of vegetable oil, a little bit. It don't take much. You don't want greasy bread. Or any kind of oil you have. Just something. I just don't feel like melting some more butter quite yet, because I'm going to have to melt some more to put on top once the bread is baking. But oil your bowl, Put your bread in. Your dough, baby. Turn it over. And you can see it's a little greasy. It's not too greasy though, just a little bit. And you do that so that it doesn't stick to the bowl because it's going to rise a lot. Okay, next time you see this dough, baby, it'll probably be up to here. So, you did that. That's your dough. You take this, put it in the oven, not a turned on oven. If you have your oven heated like I do right now, because we were baking cookies, put a towel over it, put it on top of the refrigerator, somewhere where it'll be at room temperature and a draft won't catch it, because any kind of cool air it'll knock it down or whatever it does. But put a towel over it, put it in a spot where it'll stay at room temperature and let it rise for about an hour or two. Okay, guys, the bread has risen. This is about double the size that it was. So, you punch it down. It's all sticky. Punch it down, but that's okay. And turn it out again. Let me get a little more flour because I really already have a big mess to clean up. I miss I don't miss them. I can't wait for the days. Like my mom used to wake me up in the middle of the night to clean stuff up that I left. I would wake my kids up. Come wipe the kitchen table off. You forgot a spot.
I can't wait for that either.
Oh goodness, I don't know if I would do that to them, but
I'm gonna do it.
Well, yeah, he gonna do it. What a good heart too.
I'm looking for stuff.
Oh my goodness, I remember one night my mom found some popcorn under my bed. Oh my goodness, it was horrible. She woke me up. I had to clean my whole room that night. It had to be like 3 in the morning. I'm gonna flour both sides again because it is still a little extra sticky. And what you do here, I have my 2 loaf pans here. I'm gonna oil them up with my little brush. And usually, you know, people have the little metal loaf pans. You could have whatever kind of loaf pans you want. These silicone ones I found somewhere, I don't know. But they work pretty good because they don't get too hot and I can just pull them out right quick with my hands because I tend to do that. So, alright. That's done. You break your dough in 2. See that good stretch? Yeah, that's a stretch. Great stretch. Break your dough in 2. Flour your surface a little bit. Knead it out just a tad bit more. And you don't have to knead it, but I like to knead it because it puts more air pockets into it. Keep your surface good and floured. Get your rolling pin. It can be a big rolling pin or not. You see that air bubble there? The air bubble there is air bubbles all over. That's what you like. That gives you a good soft bread. But roll it out. And it doesn't matter what kind of rolling pin you use. This is a little roti roller. I use this for when I'm making my flatbreads and stuff. But I have the big baking rolling pin. It's just, I don't know. I feel like using this one tonight. So you roll it out and roll it into a loaf. The side with this on it, hold on, I'm gonna roll it all the way into a loaf so you can see. The side with the crease on it. Pinch, pinch, pinch. So you close it. But that side is going to go on the bottom. Tuck your ends in. Turn it over. You have your little loaf. And I promise all that ugliness on the other side you're not going to see, so don't even worry about it. Put your loaf in your loaf pan. You're going to let it sit for about 30 to 45 more minutes so it can double in size in the loaf pan. It'll get to about the size of the pan once it's risen again. And that's when you put it in the oven. Roll out your other one. Now, like I was saying in the last video, I had looked up ways to freeze yeast dough, and it said to double the amount of yeast that you put in it. So if you know, are a single person, or y'all don't eat very much bread and you only want to make one and save one for later, just double your yeast. So because during the freezing process it will die off, a lot of it. So if you freeze it and you thaw it out and you have double the yeast in there, you have a better chance of it rising the way it's supposed to. But because we eat a lot of bread, this is actually loaf 3 and loaf 4 that I'm making right now. I made 2 loaves earlier, and I'm sure my children will go through them quickly. And me too, because I love toast. I really do. Especially when it's made with fresh bread. And if you don't want to freeze the dough itself, but you want to save your bread, baked bread freezes excellently. So you can bake the bread and freeze the bread. And say, you know, in the morning before when you get up for work, you want some toast while you're getting ready, you can take it out and let it thaw out while you're getting ready. And it'll be just as fresh as ever. That's even for store-bought bread. You know, if you choose not to bake your bread, store-bought bread will freeze very well as well. So just a little homemaking tip. And that one kind of looks like a little caterpillar, but it's gonna come out. It's gonna taste the same. So that is my 2 loaves. We won't be filming anymore tonight because I can tell that my cameraman, my wonderful husband, is ready to go to bed. So I'll tell you what happens after all of this. Cover it back up with your towel. Let it sit 30 to 45 minutes until it doubles up in size. Then put it in your oven on 425 for between 15 and 25 minutes. It really depends on your oven. And between 15 and 25 minutes, you're gonna smell the bread. So once you can smell the bread, go in and check on it. It should be good and brown. Tap on the top of it and it should sound hard and hollow. After you take it out of the oven, that's how you know it's done, when it sounds hollow. After you take it out of the oven, brush the tops with some butter, not margarine, butter. If you use margarine, alright, but butter. And cover it again. And let it sit, you know, hot with the butter on it. And the butter will make the bread very soft on top. Because when it comes out of the oven, it will be quite crispy on the top. The butter makes the bread soft. You know, slice it up. This is some bread that I have that's already done. As you can see, it's pretty soft. There. I put some butter on top, put the towel over it, let it sit for about 20 minutes after it was done baking, and then I sliced it to make it easy for me when I go to make sandwiches for the boys or go to make toast for myself. It's already sliced. You can freeze it like this if you want, put it in the refrigerator if you want. I know that within the next 2 days this will be gone, so I just put it in a Ziploc bag, leave it on the counter, And yeah, that's it. You know, it's not very difficult to make bread at all. As you can see, the hands-on time was about 15 to 20 minutes in all, hands-on, including the 10 minutes of kneading. And that was it. So I'm pretty much done. All I have to do is let this rise and put it in the oven and then butter it up and slice it.
And eat it.
And eat it. Right. But I have bread to eat. So these I'll probably put in the freezer until I'm ready. Until those are gone. But yeah, that's it. Just let us know if you do bake some bread. If you follow the recipe, take some pictures, tag us in them at The Inspired Life, NSPIYAHD. Visit our website, inspiredlife.com, and get some other recipes and, you know, some stories and stuff that we like to tell, or some blog posts about whatever we're writing about at the moment. And send us suggestions, anything that y'all, any recipes you want to see, any marriage topics, homeschooling topics, parenting, whatever, family. That's our thing. So anything you want to hear about, just let us know. And if you bake the bread, make sure you show us. And I hope you enjoy it. I hope this was helpful for you. Good night. Peace.